Hello and welcome to Stripe Dialogues. Today
We
is
are
our
also Solar.
23rd. Today is our 23rd episode, and to discuss today we have
No,
with
no,
us
no. Thank you.
with us guests, two guests with us, and they are Commodore Vasan
No, I know.
and Rishi Atreyh. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you.
A
Thank you,
very
sir.
good
Thank you.
A very good evening to both of you. I would like to tell our audience that Commodore Watson is the regional director of Chennai National Maritime Foundation. He's also the director of Triple CS. It's a think tank based in Chennai. Rishi is also associated with two, three think tanks, but primarily he's head of the study of INDUS Research Foundation, which is in Bangalore. So what I'm trying to get at is that Strive जो है अब पूरे देश के अलग अलग थिंक टैंक्स के साथ कनेक्ट करने की कोशिश कर रहा है ताकि हमारी जो नॉलेज है जो साउथ में है नॉर्थ में है ईस्ट में है और वेस्ट में है जो इंटेलेक्चुअल कैपिटल है उसका जो है और ग्रोथ हो और भी नए व्यूज आए सो दैट आवर ऑडियंस गेट्स एनरिच्ड बाय दैट टुडे वी विल बी डिस्कसिंग सर फॉर योर बेनिफिट एंड फॉर द बेनिफिट ऑफ द ऑडियंस about India acting as the net security provider in the Indian Ocean region. जैसा कि आप लोग जानते हैं मोदी जी ने लगातार बैक टू बैक टू विजिट्स की पहले यूएस में और फिर उसके बाद फ्रांस में उन्होंने उनके नेशनल डे पे गए थे एज गेस्ट ऑफ ऑनर दोनों विजिट्स का जो फोकस था वो डिफेंस प्रिपेयर्डनेस पर था the focus was on defense preparedness. And during the address to the Congress in US, he had very clearly said that India is now ready to be the net security provider in the Indian Ocean region. This is a big statement coming from our Prime Minister. But he has not merely made a statement. Now he is working towards that, and which is reflected in the kind of weapons and equipment which we are trying to get to our Indian armed forces so that they are capable of executing the task expected of them. And in that series, अगर आप देखेंगे फ्रांस में जो विजिट हुई है उसमें जो जितनी भी डील्स हैं तकरीबन सारी जो फोकस कर रही हैं मैरीटाइम डोमेन के चाहे वो रेफेल हो जो 18 रेफेल की बात हो रही हो दे आर ऑल्सो फॉर आवर मैरीन नेवल फोर्सेस आप स्कॉर्पियन सबमरीन की बात करें 3 जो ऑर्डर की गई हैं वो भी मैरीटाइम पावर को इम्प्रूव और इंक्रीज करने के लिए है इसी के साथ साथ एक कुछ और भी स्टेटमेंट्स फ्रांस वगैरह से आई हैं जो कि फ्रांस बोलता है कि उसका 20% जो इंटरेस्ट है इंडियन ओशन रीजन में है ये एक बहुत ध्यान में देने वाली बात है कि उनके कई आइलैंड्स जो हैं आईओआर में हैं जो कि जैसे रियूनियन आइलैंड है मैं एक एग्जांपल दे रहा हूं तो उनका भी इंटरेस्ट इस समय है उन्होंने क्वाड में क्यों नहीं ज्वाइन किया क्या रीजन था जबकि दे हैव अ साइजेबल प्रेजेंस इन द इंडियन ओशन रीजन आपसे इन सब चीजों के बारे में जानने की कोशिश करेंगे ये भी हम लोगों को पता है कि जो इंडियन ओशन रीजन है वर्ल्ड का 80% ट्रेड जो है इसके थ्रू फ्लो करता है और इंडियन ओशन रीजन के मुंह पे बैठा हुआ है इंडिया जो हमारा पेनिनसुला है इट इज काइंड ऑफ कंट्रोलिंग द एंटायर सी सिल्क रूट which Xi Jinping is trying to propose and trying to create by having various bases, whether you take it as Gwadar, Hambantota, Djibouti. So he is also, I mean, Chinese are also trying to somehow expand their tentacles. Are we ready to meet those threats? Prime Minister said that India believes in peace and tranquility, but we are not assured of our security. It's a again a statement which he made before going to France. I think the message goes from there. So we will head straight to our guests now. The first question which I would like you all to focus, and I'll first request Commodore Vasan to kindly throw some light on: is India prepared to meet these challenges? What all does it need to ensure that the security of IOR is ensured? Over to you, Commodore Watson.
Thank you, Indra. First of all, I must compliment you for the initiative from your source. We need your such in time. because of national security concerns affecting them. So I'm very happy that our conference is also the 23rd, event which we are programming. But I just such at the right center of the discussion, which is the maritime dimension of India's society. मैं ऑलरेडी तो अच्छा तरह से आपको समझाया है लोगों से कि इंडियन ओशन शेड्यूल जो है इट्स वेरी वाइटल फॉर आवर सिक्योरिटी शेड्यूल से शेड्यूल से मैंने बताया अभी सिक्योरिटी शेड्यूल की एक्टिविटी जो है बट इट्स
May I request you to be a little louder? Sir, may I request you to be a little louder, sir? Your voice is a little low.
So I just repeat what I said. Basically, I think first of all, I was talking in general terms for starting the initiative in Lucknow. And secondly, the focus on Indian Ocean region. Indian Ocean region remains central to the happenings in the world. अभी तो आप ये सब सुना होगा कि इंडिया सिक्योरिटी आ गया है. इंडिया सिक्योरिटी सारे ये टर्म है, लेकिन यदि इसका सेंट्रलिटी जो है इन इंडिया पैसिफिक इन इंडियन ओशन रीजन इट्स इंडिया ऑब्वियसली इंक्रीज करते हैं. When you look at the map which we showed you earlier, it clearly tells you that India has to be in the center seat of everything that's happening there. Whether it's trade, whether it is accumulated communication, whether it is China's initiative along the maritime Silk Road, whether it is island management, whether it is green energy. So in every way, this map clearly tells us that हम जो है ना इसका बिल्कुल सेंटर में हम हैं. Therefore, we have a great opportunity to clear the difficulties here and to implement plans that will protect India's long-term responsibility. तो जैसा आपने बताया कि कुछ कहना इधर आ रही है and we are facing a great challenge today. So these challenges by that have been identified. And coming back to the question of are we prepared well enough to meet these challenges of the present day? So there is where the Navy plays a predominant. We try and define maritime cooperation in national park. It is not simply just the Navy, but it includes all of the elements of maritime direction. Ports, ordnance ports, the blue economy initiatives, connectivity and transportation with our neighboring countries. All these are systems which review and sustainability of resources to the national. So when you look at this, it's important for us to know that India has embarked on a very easy. आप मेरी तरफ देखिए तो हमने इंडिविजुअलाइजेशन 72 में सीखा. तो न्यूक्लियर जहाज जो है वो 72 में बनाया जो वेल अदर जो सी विचिंग दैट व्हाट इज इंडिविजुअल. एंड अभी लास्ट ईयर हम फर्स्ट सेकंड को जो है गुजरात को कंप्लीट. तो आई लिव गुजरात इज समहाउ इट इज आवर ओन विच इज द साइड ऑफ द नेशन. आई वाज लकी एनफ टू बी ऑन बोर्ड दिस शिप. But I participated in the commissioning ceremony where Prime Minister Modi had come. And it makes your heart flutter with so much of pride and happiness that we are able to build a ship that is nearly 50,000 tons. And we already carried out trials. For those of you who are monitoring, आप जैसे आपने देखा होगा YouTube में भी आ गया हुआ है. डिस्प्ले लाइटिंग कर दिया. हमारा तेजस जो एयरक्राफ्ट जो है उसका भी लाइटिंग हो चुकी है. So those cycles that we are on the way to becoming a credible capable blue water. तो ब्लू वाटर लेने का कंडीशन क्या है? तो इसलिए जहाज चाहिए.
ये जरा इसको जरा थोड़ा सा डिटेल में समझाइए कि व्हाट डू वी मीन बाय ब्लू वाटर इकोनॉमी, ब्लू वाटर नेवी, एंड व्हाई इज इट इम्पोर्टेंट फॉर इंडिया. इंडिया के लिए जरूरी क्यों है?
ओके, ये है. तो द इम्पोर्टेंट पॉइंट दैट हमें समझाना पड़ेगा तो ये है कि हमारा बेसिक मॉनिटरिंग जो हम करते हैं which is allowed for you to carry out security features, your food security, energy security, all this can be done with 200 plus. उसका वजह से हमें 2.04 मिलियन स्क्वायर किलोमीटर आता है. और जनरल साहब ने ये फ्रांस के बारे में बताया था. उनका एरिया जो है नाम से उसका 9 मिलियन स्क्वायर किलोमीटर. मतलब नियरली 4 to 5 टाइम्स ज़्यादा है हमारे. तो उनका इंटरेस्ट ज़्यादा ही है. And therefore, they have every reason to join hands with us in ensuring that जैसे India is one of the security provider. So security provider हो सकता है, security facilitator हो सकते हैं, security coordinator हो सकते हैं. तो इसमें थोड़ा बहुत फर्क है. security provider मतलब हम सीखते हैं, हम नहीं कर लेते. तो ऐसा नहीं हो. तो
हाँ, ये भी जरूरी है समझना कि जब हम लोगों ने बोला कि भाई इंडिया विल बी एबल टू प्रोवाइड द ओवरऑल सिक्योरिटी इन द आईओआर, वो अकेले अपने दम पे बात नहीं कर रहे थे. वो अपने पार्टनर्स की भी को साथ में लेके वो कर रहे थे। सर आपको थोड़ा यहाँ रोकना चाहूंगा मैं। लेट मी सीक सम व्यूज फ्रॉम ऋषि ऑल्सो, बिकॉज he is also there in the discussion. So okay, Rishi, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can. Can you hear me? I hope I'm audible.
Yeah. Rishi, I want you to expand a little on why did France did not join Quad? फ्रांस ने क्यों क्वाड को नहीं ज्वाइन किया? क्या ये खाली खाली क्वाड बोलने में अच्छा था इसलिए नहीं ज्वाइन किया,
Well,
या कुछ और
Quad,
कुछ भी थे?
well, few things. First of all, the origins of the Quad are in the 2004 tsunami. It started as an HADR exercise. It was never meant as, initially, it was not intended to be military in nature.
Yeah.
So, four navies, that is India, Japan, US, and Australia, coordinated the HADR activities. Now, secondly, then Shinzo Abe talked about the diamond of democracies or security in 2007. And Quad sort of fell into disuse around 2012 or so. So the Quad was actually revived in 2018 and exercised Malabar when these four countries came together. Now, this, in a sense, this can be called the Northern Hemisphere Quad because three of the members, that is Japan, India, and the US, are in the Northern Hemisphere. France actually, in its own maritime and security policy statements, talks about the quadrilateral agreement of US, Australia, France, and New Zealand, which is called the Southern Hemisphere Quad. I'd
Okay,
like to
okay.
share on the screen an article which was published about in a couple of years ago in 2021
Uh-huh.
that for the first time introduced the concept of the Northern Quad and Southern Quad. I hope the screen is visible.
Yeah, I'll add it to it. Yeah, go
This
ahead.
article for the first time talks about the concept of the Northern Quad and Southern Quad. Then another country that's getting active in the Indo-Pacific and Pacific is is UK. But France has a direct presence in the Indo-Pacific through New Caledonia and its overseas territories. In the case of UK, the so-called overseas territories are Australia and New Zealand, which are dominions, which continue to
Okay.
be dominions, but which are effectively independent of the UK. And to the extent the UK has any control over Niue or any other country, it's through New Zealand. So there is a suggestion for a P7. That's both the Quads and the United Kingdom. So it's not that France, in a sense, has its own Quad. And France also has always known to have strategic autonomy of a kind. So maybe they didn't join the original Northern Quad, but they formed their own Quad, if you like. So that is what
Uh,
happened with France.
तो यहाँ पे मैं थोड़ा सा डाइग्रेस करना चाहूँगा आपसे, और आप दोनों से मैं व्यू लेना चाहूँगा. आई विल टेक द व्यू फ्रॉम बोथ ऑफ यू to say that isn't there a China angle also in the France's reluctance to join the Quad? I mean, I'm talking at the time when the second time Quad got revived. First time Quad, of course, you're right, it was for the HADR, but when it got revived the second time, it had security overtones, and now, of course, it has quite a bit of security overtones. So, do you think that was also a reason? China भी क्या factor था UK और फ्रांस को इस फॉर्मेशन में नहीं ज्वाइन करने का? First Commodore Vasan, and then I'll seek Rishi's view. Okay.
Thank you. It's an important dimension that you must discuss. In addition to what you brought out, the other important thing that happens because of elections of it's brought up as elections of France in the office. पहले इनका फ्रांस का ऐसा था कि वो देवर से वेरी सदरिंग फॉर ऑस्ट्रेलिया, तो पटेली दे चुके थे, कॉन्ट्रैक्ट भी हो गया था. But suddenly from nowhere, obviously the last year strategic came of America, where they came into the nuclear submarine. तो इसका वजह से फ्रांस was a little upset. जो यूरोपीय यूनियन जो है उसका भी एक इंडो पैसिफिक पॉलिसी है. In fact, every meeting has now promoted some kind of a policy declaration on how to work with local systems of India. And जैसे आपने correctly identify किया है, China is just a center of all this. Let's face it, people have also acknowledged the fact that this meeting, the aggressive nature of China, its economic engagement with its neighborhood, its artificial control of ASEAN, is trying to control the Indo-Pacific islands, Pacific islands. So all these have become customers of challenge for all the countries, not just France. So France, which is temporarily perhaps upset with the fact that it was removed from the offer, would have its own options. Not that it is disinterested in the like I said, if it's got threatened more than what India has, in terms of having economic growth, it's not so interested होना ही है. So if you combine, we look at bilateral agreements, to perhaps joining another form, it also is sort of a unique case, because we are a separate strategy for the Indo-Pacific. It's the articulate question. So it will be part of A or B or C, depending on what it thinks is maximum.
तो कहीं ना कहीं कमोडोर वासन मान रहे हैं. आई मीन आई विल जस्ट re-emphasize it in Hindi also, because I'm getting some comments that tell Rishi to speak in Hindi. So Rishi, it's a challenge for you.
नहीं
Okay.
बोलिए, तो हम बोलेंगे. हम बोलिए क्या आप क्या बोलना चाहेंगे? जो
नहीं,
हिंद प्रशांत महासागर,
मैं ये बोल रहा था कि चाइना एक फैक्टर जरूर था शुरू में, जब फ्रांस ने इसको ज्वाइन नहीं किया. लेकिन फ्रांस, जैसा कि आप बता रहे हैं, उन्होंने अपना एक क्वाड सदर्न हेमिस्फेयर में तैयार किया, और जो कि सही था. तो क्या आप, अब मैं आपसे एक फर्दर सवाल पूछना चाहता हूँ. आई एम आस्किंग ऋषि नाउ दैट एक I4 हो गया, ऑकस हो गया, सदर्न हेमिस्फेयर क्वाड हो गया जिसमें कि फ्रांस है, और एक हमारा क्वाड है जिसमें कि इंडिया है. अब ये 4-5 ग्रुपिंग इस इलाके में आ गए. हालांकि पूरा इलाका जो है इंडो पैसिफिक में आता है, लेकिन IOR स्पेसिफिक नहीं है, लेकिन कनेक्टेड है एक दूसरे के साथ. तो आप क्या समझते हैं, इजंट देयर अ नीड टू कोऑर्डिनेट दीज वेरियस फॉर्मेशंस व्हिच हैव नाउ कम अप, जो अलाइनमेंट्स आ गई हैं आज की डेट में, इनको सिनर्जाइज करने की जरूरत नहीं आप महसूस करते हैं? खास तौर से जैसा कि आप जानते हैं कि आपने हाईलाइट भी किया कि चाइनीज फुटप्रिंट्स आर ग्रेजुअली इंक्रीजिंग, स्पेशली इन द साउथ चाइना सी, ईस्ट चाइना सी. आप सोलोमन आइलैंड में भी उन्होंने अपने पैर बैठा लिए हैं, जिबूती में कर ही रखा है, ग्वादर में कर रखा है, और आज चबहार में उसको एक जेटी मिल गई है. आपको ये भी ध्यान देना पड़ेगा. और हम्बनटोटा तो खैर उसका हो ही गया है 90 साल के लिए, 90 ईयर्स के लिए. योर व्यूज ऑन दिस?
अब देखिए, जहां तक आप जो हिंद प्रशांत महासागर के विषय में जो हम कहते हैं, कुछ लोग तो पहले उसको एशिया प्रशांत महासागर कहते थे, अब तो उसको हिंद प्रशांत महासागर कहा जाता है. तो उसका यही मतलब है कि भारत का महत्व उसमें कुछ बड़ा है. और जहां तक है कि ये जो अब अलग अलग जो गुट बने हैं, जैसे देशों के, जैसे जो ये 4 देशों का के जो गुट बने, एक उत्तरी हेमिस्फीयर में, एक दक्षिणी हेमिस्फीयर में. अब उसको, अब हम तो कह रहे हैं कि उसमें अब बर्तानिया को भी जोड़ लो तो 7 बन जाएगा, वो प्रशांत महासागर के 7 बन जाएंगे. और जहां तक ऑस्ट्रेलिया है, न्यूजीलैंड है, और 2-4 जो आपके प्रशांत सागर के जो छोटे द्वीप देश हैं, वो तो आज तक बरतानी ताज को का समर्थन करते हैं, उसको तस्लीम करते हैं, बरतानी सल्तनत को तस्लीम करते हैं, अगर आप कहें.
यू कैन टेल ब्रिटेन, आई थिंक इतना तो समझ जाते हैं, बरतानिया बोलने की जरूरत नहीं है. आप ब्रिटेन बोल सकते हैं, हमारे लोग समझ जाएंगे यहाँ पर.
नहीं तो जो जिनको हम कहते हैं, जो राष्ट्रमंडल देश हैं, जो कॉमनवेल्थ कंट्रीज हैं, और कुछ हैं विच आर स्टिल डोमिनियंस, अगर इनको कहें, जो जैसे पहले भारत में होता था 1950 से पूर्व. तो ऑस्ट्रेलिया में जहां तक एक तरह से एक मुहिम है, उसको भी गणतंत्र बनाने का, कि उसमें भी अब बरतानी साम्राज्य को समाप्त किया जाए. मगर जो मूल रूप से ये सारे देश जो हैं, इनमें कुछ समानता है. अब जहां तक चीन है, ना चीन के साथ कोई इनका सांस्कृतिक, ना कोई अगर इनके प्रशासनिक, जो आपके इनका जो प्रशासनिक ढांचा है, उनका चीन के साथ तो कोई उनकी समानता नहीं. और जो भाषा भी वहां अंग्रेजी, जो औपचारिक भाषा है, जो प्रशासन की भाषा अंग्रेजी है. तो अधिकतर, तो अगर आप देखें तो ये तो काफी इसमें ये असंभव है कि वो इसमें जो संभव है कि वो एक ही साथ आ जाए, कि अगर चीन का इस पे अधिक इनका प्रभाव नहीं रहेगा उनके देश में.
ओके, सो व्हाट यू आर ट्राइंग टू से इज दैट, but जो main question था, I would like Commodore Vasan also to throw some light, because this is more to do with to do with operational and strategic level question. The first one which I asked you, how are we going to actually coordinate the various formations or alignments which have come about, and how are we going to link it up and synergize? Because it should not happen that people get isolated and defeated piecemeal in case of any future conflagration between various countries, various with why I mean it's basically with China and its partners.
So it's a very important dimension that you brought up. अच्छा एक चीज जो बहुत सारे डिस्ट्रिक्ट हो गई है नाटक का हो गया इधर यूरोपियन यूनियन का होगा सबका एवरीबडी सॉर्ट ऑफ पॉलिसी चेंज है सबने बोला था कि ये हमारा इंडो पैसिफिक पॉलिसी है लेकिन ग्राउंड में क्या हो रहा है बिकॉज सोशल में जो है तो ये चीज कैरिंग आउट फ्रीडम ऑफ एजुकेशन ऑफ दिस हम तो उससे शामिल नहीं होंगे क्योंकि हम तो कह रहे थे कि देखो ये यूनिटी अलायंस नहीं है बट भाई secure even only many derivatives it's really fully advantageous in terms of investments, in terms of maritime assistance, in terms of STEM, which is high technology, engineering, mathematics, IPO and vaccine diplomacy. So it's not looking purely simple. So in my opinion, मेरा तरफ से ऐसा ये समझी ये जो है it's very a lot of good for India because others are interested in having this kind of arrangement. इधर सबसे de-risking जो नया टर्म आ गया है de-risking पहले बोलते थे डीकपलिंग जो अभी इनको समझ में आ गया कि डीकपलिंग थोड़ा मुश्किल है तो इसको de-risking कहते हैं तो de-risking का बात है कि तो कमिंग बैक टू योर क्वेश्चन ऑफ हाउ प्रिपेयर्ड आर वी हाउ वी थिंक और वी प्रिपेयर्ड आर वी वी नीड टू बी ईच ऑफ देम हैव अ प्रिस्क्रिप्शन जैसे क्वाड जो है आईपीओ है इंडो पैसिफिक सोशल इनिशिएटिव जो है तो ईच ऑफ देम हैव अ स्पेसिफिक फोकस. But India is in an excellent position today. There are similar benefits for each of the people. Even in South China Sea, when the freedom of navigation of the borders by America, they have clearly said they are not going to get, but we will continue to emphasize on rule-based order. हम ये कह रहे हैं कि देखो rule-based order क्या होता है? If you are a signatory to UNCLOS, this is the convention in order to see if somebody gives you a direction, gives you a verdict in the CPA, permanent court of arbitration, आप उसको मानो don't know the secret is also ratified the NICS. So if the arbitration तो उसको ये decision दिया हुआ था किसी एक तरफ से कहना होता है कि देखो ऐसा हैपेंस कंस्टिट्यूशन की संख्या दिख गया तो हमने क्या किया कि बांग्लादेश के लोग एक ITLOS and they gave a verdict against India they accepted it. It shows that we accept and honor the verdict of international organizations. The statutes which are there, we respect. ये नहीं होना चाहिए ना तो क्या हो जैसे एलिमेंट ऑफ ऑब्लिगेशन जो है ये इनकी गुड टू अप्लाई प्रेशर और चैलेंज के लिए थोड़ा बिहेव कर लो ये क्या कर लो आपने यू आर सेइंग दैट यू आर पार्ट ऑफ द इंटरनेशनल ग्लोबल ऑर्डर लेकिन यू आर नॉट willing to even accept people decisions that are given. You are using the military media to go there and prevent government from carrying about legitimate decisions. So, this does not belong of a country that wants to be a super power, an aspirational power. Whatever you want to do, therefore, India is taking a comfortable position in my head to make use of all these capabilities. Even authors, for example, they are not for the authors. लेकिन इसका military damage जो है, that will look after the military dimension of what's happening in the Pacific. The good pressure is it will prevent them from moving out of the Pacific defenses. So, therefore, we should look at what are there. We should keep China's interests alive in Indo-Pacific, which allows India to compete with an Asian nation people. It is our primary. So, इधर जो है इसको तो हम कंट्रोल करने चले तो पार्टनर्स ट्राई टू डू एवरीथिंग इन इंडो-पैसिफिक जहाँ आपका बैकयार्ड जो है दैट बड़ी so we have to ensure that your backyard is not on fire. And therefore you have to manage Sri Lanka, you have to manage Bangladesh, you have to manage Nepal, you have to manage Afghanistan, you have to manage Maldives. And then the outer periphery, you have to manage something with people. ये हमारी इंटरेस्ट है तो देखो आपने जैसे कहा तो चाबहार में जो हमारा कितने दिन कहाँ बाहर यूनिवर्सिटी वर्क तो देखिए तो क्या है यूथ ऑफ नॉर्थ साउथ तो हुआ नहीं है So, we are using circular routes to reach ventilation and stuff. So, there are challenges, but why we are saying that we will try and become a electrical provider, we have to first manage the challenges which are around us. So, we think entirely into picture. We should not forget that it's really the economic engagement, it is military adventurism, it is, all these things happen there, we have to take cognizance of and see that we are prepared. So if you have to use other organizations like your IPO, anything, let's use it. Why shy of it? But luckily I think I have talked with the federal government. and particularly the extreme waters. He does not mince words. He says that these are national rights. I continue to serve the purpose of strategic autonomy. लेकिन ये जो है जो हम और कुछ भी I follow जो हमें खुद से होगा and we have to buy oil from Russia and buy it. So Arifa is not buying gas from so double yards is really initially we ensured that the double standards that the best to the Europe trying to impose on other developing countries. These got this phenomenal amount of the determination and clarity of. So yeah, see, we are in a nice position.
Okay, sir. So I'll request if you can keep your mic little closer because I'm getting some response that your voice is not coming very clear. So maybe a little closer, your voice will be better off, sir. But
I'll keep it close.
Yes. My next thing which I want to ask you all is essentially related to how real now is the Chinese threat. I'm not talking of our interest now. We see the maritime interest. We are all aware that we have to take care of it. But in this maritime interest, there is some amount of threats also building up as far as China is concerned. Especially, we have a lot of island territories. Especially, we have a lot of assets along our coast. Especially because of the fact that it does have a kind of a base in Djibouti, although it's not a very big base, but it has started off doing that. It is also, having its footprints in Iran, and as I said earlier. So, do you think that there would be manifestation of real threat, given the fact that if all the Western, I mean, various formations which we have, various partnerships which we have announced, they get together, they will overwhelm China. But we must not forget that Russia, as of now, is leaning heavily towards China. So, how do you visualize Russia China kind of a alignment in the IOR, or to be very precise, in the Asia Pacific? Is it a likelihood, or it's just my figment of imagination? We'll first have Rishi because the Commodore Vasan just spoke. Then we'll seek Commodore Vasan's view also. Yeah, Rishi, what do
Well,
you
sir,
think?
two or
Yeah,
three
you want
things. One
Commodore
is,
Vasan, sir, just a minute. Sir, you want to speak on this?
No. I said what you said is correct, and we will wait. We'll wait
Yeah.
for Rishi to respond, and then I'll respond.
Yeah, Rishi, go ahead.
sir, first thing is, you see, China actually has the Malacca dilemma. So
Yes.
really speaking, they have to find some way or the other of maritime security. Now, as far as India's coastal security is concerned, and of course, I hope General Chaturvedi is listening to us, yeah, because he's been in the Andaman Nicobar Command. That is
Yes.
perhaps our most important maritime asset. Is India is the Andaman Nicobar Islands, because that puts us in the maritime neighborhood of Indonesia and through Coco Islands of Australia. So really speaking, we are very much
Coco,
a country that's,
Coco, Coco Island is not Australia, sir.
sir, it is, or Keelings, that it is indirectly under Australia.
Okay.
So we could say that India's presence there, especially the fact that so effectively we are also in the South China Sea. So any activity, so we have to secure all our coastal assets, be it Andaman Nicobar Islands, and 2611 proved that grey zone warfare, which is Sir General Dushyant Singh's speciality, is easily possible in the maritime sphere, and it was done by a country which isn't even a major maritime power. So first of all, coastal security is a must. And Commodore Vasan has been in the Coast Guard, so he doesn't need me to. He could rather elaborate on the operational aspects of coastal security. But
Okay.
China is indeed put, whether in Djibouti, whether even with its relations, its cooperation with Iran. So they are certainly expanding their footprint into what can be called West Asia. India and France, since you mentioned France earlier, India and France do have maritime cooperation and air power cooperation in the Middle East
Yeah.
with some of the Middle East countries. And so regarding this, well, China is a threat more so because it's able to indirectly get allies or get bases overseas. Now, That's one thing. And on the issue of Russia, well, Russia actually would itself not want an exceptionally powerful China. Russia perhaps is forced to be forced to ally with China because the West has decided to treat Russia as an untouchable. It's
Okay.
more the doing of the West. And Russia, for its own best interest, wouldn't want to see India have an excessively subservient position to China. And Russia and India have, let's say, a long Cold War relationship. So that cannot. And India still imports at least a better part of its military hardware from Russia.
Okay. So, Commodore Vasan, sir, would you like to elaborate
Yeah,
on these two issues, the Chinese threat and
definitely.
Russia-China alignment? Is it possible, given the fact
So
that they have
exactly.
done some exercises in the East China Sea together, Russia and China, etc.? Yeah.
So this is again something that we also understand that China remains a threat. As they keep on saying, it's current and real time. Current and real time. Are we equipped to deal with it? At many levels, yes. And I think some areas perhaps there are restrictions to be sure. As far as the maritime security dimensions of India's sector, we are ready. That's my estimate. Even the coastal security, which we alluded to earlier, after Mumbai terror attack, we got into getting the INDUS, we got the cooking radar stations, which are along the entire stretch. We have strengthened the maritime domain awareness programs, and we are interacting with many countries who are sitting in Delhi in Gurugram. Again, talking to, I'm putting a daily picture of all the units which are here and that's a white ship and black ship and grey ship agreement. So, we are, I think, in a much better place in terms of assessing what is happening now. But you brought out another important aspect of the Malacca Dam. That is very real. China has taken cognizance of it. They will not be able to overcome it. And then they cut through the dry stomach, it may not happen. They've been talking about it. The only other way is to go around Sinda and Lumbak, which are there, till extend the way. Today, I'm always very fond of using one term to describe what China goes through, which is a tyranny of history. साउथ चाइना से लेकर इधर तक आने में ना उनको पता नहीं 5 दिन लग जाते हैं and जैसे इधर तक आते हैं तो then you require fuel, you require ration farming, you require ammunition, you require complete training job. इसका वजह से उन्होंने किसी के रीजन पाए कि रुककर देखी थी हम्बनटोटा से है बांग्लादेश म्यांमार और it is a way of protecting their future weaknesses related to dictators. Famous states, जो हम आर्मी में नेवी में होते हैं उसका बारे में जो बातें करते रहते हैं तो दिस इज अगेंस्ट चाइना दिस इज आल्सो डिप्लॉयड परफेक्ट इन इंडियन ओशन पीस इसका वजह से जिबूती का जा रहे हैं इसका वजह से चोपा ने नदी रिस्ट्रिक्टिव जो है तो दे आर ट्राइंग टू मेंटेन दिस बिकॉज दैट shows that a dropping the island whenever we carry out our mission tests we launch our space vehicles तो अगर वो बढ़ जाते हैं आज नहीं कर रहे हैं ये तो 40-50 आदमी जो है वो चौथा पे आ जाते हैं तो बढ़ जाता है तो पूरा से सैटरडे कभी के छोटे and they're able to monitor to deliberately what is happening to your research program, what is happening to your space program. क्योंकि जो ये सभी तो इसको से होता है जैसे अभी चंद्रयान भी इधर से हुआ था दैट इज थियरी होता तो दे हैव इंटरेस्ट इन दैट उनका रिसर्च सेंटर जो आया हुआ था इसका वजह भी है कि दे आल्सो रिसर्च एनवायरनमेंट इंडियन ओशन क्या चीज है इसका सेलिब्रिटी क्या हो the bathymetry क्या हो because this data is bathymetry is nothing but depth first salinity. इसका submarine operations के लिए vital है तो वो submarine happens to be so much like I said इनका limitation ये है कि time and space and South China के लिए आप अगर you have taken over all these assets from your neighbor Vietnam से छीन लिया Philippines से छीन लिया और कोई से छीन लिया इसको प्रोटेक्ट करना है ना तो अगर प्रोटेक्ट करना है तो 30% आपका नेवी जो है तो उधर ही अटक जाएगा तो बाकी 67% में और 30% अमेरिका के लिए आइडेंटिफाई जाएगा तो इतनी चल आओगे इंडियन ओशन की कैसे लाओ
तो मेरे ख्याल से कमोडोर वासन ने बड़ा डिटेल में समझाया है मैं सिर्फ इसको हिंदी में रिपीट कर देता हूँ वो बोल रहे हैं कि जो टाइम एंड स्पेस है वो एक बहुत बड़ी डिसएडवांटेज है चाइना के लिए खास तौर से उसके पोर्ट से हमारे आईओआर में आना और हमारे ऊपर एक फिजिकल थ्रेट बनना उसमें काफ़ी दिक्कतें आएंगी दूसरा मलाक्का स्ट्रेट इतनी नैरो है उसका वाटर डेप्थ भी बहुत कम है तो उस इलाके से इनफैक्ट सबमरीन्स के आने में भी काफ़ी शक होता है कि वेदर वो कर पाएंगे या नहीं कर पाएंगे, खास तौर से जब फिलीपींस के पास भी है, वियतनाम के पास भी है कुछ नेवल फोर्स है, अमेरिका के पास है, ऑस्ट्रेलिया के पास है। मेरा कहने का मतलब है जो कमोडोर वासन का कहने का मतलब है कि चाइना का यहाँ पर हमारे लिए कोई फिजिकल थ्रेट बनना बहुत ही डिफिकल्ट है। हाँ, छोटा मोटा वो हो सकता है, न्यूक्लियर सबमरीन से आके कोई सर्वेलेंस कर लिया, उस तरह की चीजें हो सकती हैं, या फिर उनके अपने आउट स्टेशन हैं जो सर्वेलेंस स्टेशन हैं, उससे वो हमारे ऊपर नजर रख सकता है। वो सारी चीजें जरूर करेगा, जैसा कि उन्होंने बोला कि हमारे जो मिसाइल प्रोग्राम्स हैं उनके ऊपर नजर रखता है, हमारे जो ये जो स्पेसशिप सॉरी चंद्रयान जो लॉन्च हुआ है उसको भी वो मॉनिटर कर रहा होगा। तो इस तरह की चीजें होंगी जिसके खिलाफ हमको सावधान रहना चाहिए। मोर और लेस उसकी लड़ाई ग्रे जोन में होगी हमारे खिलाफ। वो उससे ज्यादा और कुछ फिजिकल हमारे ऊपर वो नहीं कर सकता। रास्ते में उसकी काफी तक कठिनाइयां हैं, लॉजिस्टिक्स की प्रॉब्लम, टाइम एंड स्पेस की प्रॉब्लम है। तो ये तो हो गया जहां तक चाइना का जो एक्चुअल थ्रेट की बात हो रही है। बट आई वुड लाइक यू टू टेल अ लिटिल बिट वेरी शॉर्टली। Russia is a close friend of India. It's a very long
सॉरी मैं
thing.
उसके बारे में भूल गया, और रशिया के
नहीं,
बारे
नहीं,
में भूल
कोई
गया,
नहीं,
मैं इसको बता देता
मुझे याद है, मैं मॉडरेट कर रहा हूँ तो मैं वो कर रहा हूँ। तो थोड़ा सा रशिया के बारे में भी बताइए कि क्योंकि रशिया भी धर्म संकट में पड़ेगा, थोड़ा तो उसको वो होगी, तकलीफ होगी अगर ऐसा कुछ डेवलपमेंट होता है। जापान के खिलाफ तो उसने फटाफट कर लिया, इंडिया के खिलाफ कोई ऐसी एक्सरसाइज करेगा क्या चाइना के साथ वो? क्योंकि एक्सरसाइजेज में भी एक
ऐसे पहले के लोग 50-60 साल से हम रशिया का कभी हम एक्सरसाइज कर रहे हैं, अभी
हाँ,
भी कर रहे हैं हम उनका साथ। और
हाँ जी,
जैसे ऋषि ने बताया कि हमारा डिफेंस रिपोर्ट जो है अभी तक पूरा डाइवर्ट नहीं हुआ। या तो
हाँ,
यूएसए, या तो
हाँ,
यूरोप,
हुआ
या
है,
तो फ्रांस, या तो
बट
इसराइल,
उतना नहीं
कुछ
हुआ।
नहीं हो रहा है। लेकिन हाँ, अभी भी हमारा आर्मी नेवी एयरफोर्स में बढ़िया फ्रंटलाइन यूनिट्स और सिर्फ डिपेंडेंट ऑन रशियन सिक्योरिटी। ये है, ये रियलिटी है। And of course, now it's increasingly coming on that kind of pressure. But there are economic companies. There's a wide Russia selling oil sales. उसके पास पैसा ही नहीं है, तो जिस चीज में मांगा उनको दे रहे हैं, तो देना ही पड़ेगा उनको। तो जो फैसिलिटेशन के साथ चलेगी प्राइस या इंटरनेशनल प्राइस, तो these are practical consequences that Russia. So Russia is also a dependent economy. So China cannot judge them out forever. So they need friendship of India, they need friendship of China, they need many other things are there. Am I audible?
या थोड़ा सा वो है,
ये कट हो
लिटिल
गया था
बेटर,
थोड़ा, दो मिनट कट हो गया था। तो
थोड़ा लिटिल
therefore
बेटर।
there are these issues of mutual dependence, and that will continue for a long time. It's not going to be overnight that we delete from China. China स्टाफ से नहीं होगा। We are still importing a lot of items. हमारा ट्रेड डिफिसिट है वो $100 billion क्रॉस हो चुकी है। So that tells you that there is these interdependent structures, mechanisms which are there will continue for some more time while we are trying to find and identify alternate avenues of sustaining our economy, military, strategic aspects. All these are not going to happen overnight. So this is a continuous working process. तो चल रहा है काम, चल रहा है। नहीं तो रशिया का जो बात है, it's not going to dealing from India also. And it's not that it's going to say like China से तो चला गया, जापान रशिया का रेवेन्यू भी है, पहले से इंडिया के इसमें तो कोई रेवेन्यू है ही नहीं है, हमारा रेवेन्यू चाइना से था। तो इसका वजह से रशिया और अपनी कॉन्शियस इन trying to extend future profit.
Okay, so I think just to re-emphasize the point, even Rishi told that there is a huge mutual interdependence between Russia and India. So therefore, Russia taking a position against India is unlikely, at least in the short to medium term. That is the biggest conclusion which we can draw. The second thing, what Commodore Vasan has tried to emphasize is that we have the Russians have proved to be a permanent friend of India even in the past. Given our previous conflicts which have taken place, Russia has generally supported us. So we will find that the Russians may adopt a neutral stance at best. And the third issue which Rishi highlighted was that Russia itself is a big power. It is a big military power. Its economy may not be as good as the US or the other countries, but its military power, given its nuclear stockpiles, which is the largest in the world, I think it considers itself higher than China as far as its prowess of military prowess is concerned, both in terms of technology and as well as in terms of hard power. So unlikely that Russia will be under any pressure to go against India should there be any kind of a conflict which takes place between India and China on the land borders. So with that, I think I we are almost shooting to about 40 minutes of our time. My last question to both of you, 3 3 minutes for each, 2 to 3 minutes for each, so that we can conclude this talk and then take some questions from the audience, because we are having a lot of questions coming from the audience. My last question to you is India well on its way to be the power of the future as far as maritime strength is concerned, and how much time do you see India growing into that kind of a thing, given the fact that indigenization is over 60% in the navy? It's the most indigenized of the three services. How do you see Indian navy's flight into the future, Indian's navy flight into the future? That's my question.
You want Rishi to take on first, or we only take it out?
Sir, you can take on, sir, first, because it's related to navy, so I would like you to be a little more
No, I think,
specific.
which, इसमें जो है, we have to acknowledge some hard facts. No, like initially in my opening statement, I also said that it is not the Navy that decides the maritime cooperation part of India. If you have ports, which are BSC systems on ships, you have ships which are yards, you have blue economy, structure which is there. All these things in the Navy are. China today has captured the global market in terms of people. They want to Japan, they want to Turkey. So, we are innovating. We should also acknowledge the fact that we're not doing enough emphasis in terms of shipping. What it to be. But, material जो है, the total number of ships that are coming out, 90% is coming out from China. And Japan से होता था, उसका part South Korea में होता. So, unless we are able to have these hinterland connectivity, good transportation, luckily we saw it into a lot of transportation corridors, roads, rail, ships, also the coastal traffic. So all these are things that will add to the maritime part of it. Geographically, we are blessed. Historically, we are already maritime part. Cholas and Kalinga, everybody has been to Southeast Asia. But we can't live on our knowledge of the past. Therefore, if you have to move forward, you have to invest a lot more in the maritime system. Not just the Navy. Navy is doing good, but and because they are in a position to provide the right kind of trust for our maritime assistance, they already doing this. They have to include in tsunami 2007 में हुआ था, तो हमारे जहाज जो है इंडोनेशिया पहुंचते हैं, श्रीलंका पहुंचते हैं, मालदीव पहुंचते हैं, 24 hours से. वैसे हमारा भी इधर प्रॉब्लम था इससे. तो वैसे kind of capabilities अच्छे हैं. We constantly have a track capabilities. So they are really absolute. But we should not take anything for granted in terms of overall potential of the nation, which we have miles to. We need to be conscious about it.
Quick word from Rishi.
Sir, I think Commodore Vasan has already covered the fact that it's not just military power,
Okay.
but it also includes economic power, merchant marines, blue economy,
Bilkul.
and overall. But one thing which I would say is that Russia still is a major energy provider, and the Vladivostok Chennai corridor is an important shipping route, because that's
Yes.
because a lot of India's oil does come from the Russian Far East
Correct.
now. So I'd say, because energy is another important. I'd say that whether India is poised to be a maritime power, well, India does have, whether one can call it exactly naval power or even maritime soft power. Things, for example, Mauritius doesn't have a navy, and Mauritius navy is controlled by India, and even Coast Guard facilities provided by India. And France is Reunion Island in the vicinity of Mauritius. So France and India have always had some kind of maritime cooperation. And a lot of the countries that you're showing on the map, like Kenya, Tanzania, even South Africa, many of these are Commonwealth countries. And Madagascar and Comoros are Seychelles are francophone countries. Mauritius and Seychelles are both Commonwealth and francophone.
Correct.
So, but one can say that it's not just India. India would have to, whether we like it or not, be in alliance with what I call the P7, the Pacific Seven. That
Okay.
is at which that's the only way India can, if at all, no one country can be a global maritime power. And but as far as China is concerned, China does have an economic stranglehold, and more so because on the issue of economy, China has labor standards that are not acceptable in India or any other civilized country. Although
Yeah.
COVID
Uh,
seems to have hit. Pardon?
Okay, Rishi, I think we will stop the discussion here because I see a lot of questions and
Sir, sir.
we'll have to spend some time on that. Suffice it to say that China is alone in this battle as far as the IOR Indo Pacific is concerned. So, therefore, it has challenges and it has severe challenges. Therefore, India will be an important factor in the entire Indo Pacific. We should now go ahead with the question answers, and I have a lot of them. Let me take few which I should. But before that, hey friends, like, subscribe to our channel. We are a young channel. We are trying to connect the country together. Unless you like, subscribe to us, hit the bell icon, we will not get that encouragement to keep giving you some quality discussion on issues which are relevant to security, national security, and nation building. The question which yeah, Brigadier Sandeep has asked me a question. For maritime threat from China to India, it has to establish bases in the IOR. CPEC and China's control on Gwadar port is a threat for future. So, is it developing relations with Iran and West Asian nations? Now, basically, what he is hinting at is our old friend Pakistan. How do you see a kind of threat developing from Pakistan, Iran, and the West Asian group of countries, which are essentially part of the OIC or the Islamic world? Do you see any kind of a pushback from this region as far as the IOR is concerned? First, we will have uh, Commodore Vasan speaking about it. And in case if Rishi has to add anything, he can add thereafter. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, there have been developments which we are watching closely. Now, this was about not just Pakistan, China, Russia, but we also look at Turkey, which has carried out exercises in North
Very
Africa.
important. Very important.
Yeah.
Very important.
We must be very conscious of the developments that are taking place in West Asia. Simultaneously, we must be the kind of initiatives that are being taken by the government. Prime Minister Modi is in a Muslim world. He's received so well. Investments are going to come in from Saudi Arabia. They're going to have a dynamic of its own. And so this is all at the moment favorable to India, but we cannot count out the possibility of the corridor of Turkey, Pakistan, Russia, and China. They are the ones who have to contest the maritime superiority of India to North Arabia. North Arabian Sea has been something where we are able to establish complete kickers. ये हुआ था 31 में हुआ था उसका बाद भी we were fairly well established in terms of establishment, but with the presence of new actors like China, Turkey level system, we find that in the event of a clash, we find it extremely difficult to control this area with the development of Qatar, with the Karachi, with Oman, and these people are all in together. We also have a basic rhythm. But point is that it's going to complicate matters in terms of the naval contest that and the competition that takes place. So he's right in saying that China requires a lot of research. Djibouti is not a great place. When you look at Djibouti, it seems whether you are French, you are American, you are somebody else.
Yes,
It's
that's
not a
right.
great-
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but it does provide them, and they use it very wisely. They that we use it for anti-scientific.
Yeah.
But it's not anti-piracy. It's more to be in that area because of great infrastructure. So therefore, it was to challenge the the maritime superiority of India when they come to Djibouti, they are negotiating with African countries. They are looking at Maldives, which was at one time with the entire pocket of time. Actually,
That's right.
the major problems that
Yes.
they are both favorable. So this is the power play that will continue to be cleared out in the ocean between these players, specifically China and India. Fuel catalyzed by the big power play between US and China. So this is what will happen. So they have to head up the game. This was the
Yeah.
discussion.
Okay, so basically, Commodore Vasan has kind of replied to Brigadier Sandeep. Essentially, this is going to become the playing field between China and India, the region which Brigadier Sandeep has highlighted. But I also have a hunch that Iran, when it comes to anything against India, may not support this alliance which we are talking about. Turkey, yes, we cannot be sure about which way the Turkish opinion will fall, but Iran definitely, when it comes to India, Iran, I think we enjoy a slightly better relationship. Yes, this alliance is more, to my mind, to counter the US influence or US interference into Iran and other regions. That is why the Iranians have cooperated with Saudi Arabia and China. This is my take, my view. I think somewhere in between is the truth, but we cannot rule out, like we said, we cannot rule out any person going against us. Rishi, would you like to say something on it, or I move to the next question?
Well, sir, I'd say that you see, Pakistan is able to be a thorn in the flesh of India because whether it be on land, whether it be on sea after 26/11, Pakistan seems to have the ability to master grey zone warfare, and clearly they've succeeded in using totally non-traditional methods such as an ordinary shipping fishing vessel effectively launched an amphibious attack on India in 26/11. So one can never rule out which way Pakistan will go. And given that always the danger of
See,
nuclear weapons,
Pakistan, we are not denying. Pakistan, we are not denying. Pakistan will be against India. There is no doubt about it. Pakistan, so we can. I was talking about Iran. I said Iran
well,
is like.
Iran, one can't say will be for India or against India. But one thing to note is, of course, you're sitting in Lucknow. You don't need me to tell you. Iran being a predominantly Shia country,
Yeah,
it's
that's what I said.
unlikely. It's unlikely that they'll cooperate with the Sunni dominated Arab world. And
Yeah, that's
Pakistan, for its share, is predominantly Punjabi, Sunni, Hanafi, and I think within that it's predominantly Devbandi. So
okay.
Iran may be may probably want to stay neutral if
Okay,
there's
it
a
may be neutral. It may be neutral. It may be, but definitely not against India. We move to the next question, which is from Sharikshit Raghupati. Thank you, Raghupati, for listening to our channel. If time and space proves to be a disadvantage for China, will the USA assist India in countering China? Is it easy for the USA and France? It actually should have been. It is easy for the USA and France to interfere, as Philippines is an ally of the USA. Yeah. Should I answer, or you can take on, Commodore Vasan, sir?
Yeah, I'll take it on and you can add on as required.
Yeah.
This is very simple. Even today, the level of engagement, intelligence sharing is phenomenal between US and so even if there is, let's say, a cross-strait situation, with a Taiwan takeover efforts by China, you find that India may not be directly involved. But the location of fundamentally, you are clear by piece of lines from Ravi, Saudi, the entire infrastructure. They are in a position to provide the kind of information.
Can you come a little closer, sir? Your voice is again
Oh,
cracking.
sorry. Yeah, as I was saying that, in the event of a face-off between India and China, it's already happening with the LAT standoff for 3 years. The expectations were that in case it spills over to the ocean, would USA be a factor? The point is very simple. They are not going to have boots on ground around the LAC if we have a constitutional plan. Same is true of India, which will not have anything to do with the Taiwan Strait threat because we are not part of the NATO alliance. Nor are we part of the military alliance which US is trying to promote in that way. So what will happen is, because of the existing foundational agreements that we have with you, that Limo, which has got a whole lot of things which have got many acronyms. All these will help us in providing the right kind of help in terms of intelligence savings, in terms of extending their range, providing the maintenance facilities, control facilities in Andaman Nicobar and in areas that are helpful. So, what I feel is cooperation is huge rather than military. But if we complement the war effort of either India in Indian Ocean region or USA in the Taiwan Strait.
I think you're right, sir. Rishi, would you like to add or just explain in Hindi?
So what exactly is the question that आप ये पूछ रहे हैं कि अगर चीन ने भारत पे आक्रमण किया तो क्या अमेरिका भारत का साथ देगा, यही आप पूछ रहे हैं?
बिल्कुल
अब
बिल्कुल
देखिए
सही।
ये तो कोई कहने के लिए कठिन है कि अगर प्रत्यक्ष रूप में अगर वो अपने नौसेना को तैनात करें जैसे 1971 में रूस ने किया था, वैसे तो कहना मुश्किल है कि वो अपना नौसेना तैनात करना चाहेंगे। बट अगर आप देखें कि अगर जिसको हम कहें कि जो राजनयिक तौर पे द डिप्लोमेटिक लेवल या और जितने भी आप कहते अंतर्राष्ट्रीय मंच हैं, संभव है कि अमेरिका उसमें भारत का समर्थन करे, और जो अन्य देश है वो अगर प्रत्यक्ष रूप में भी भारत का समर्थन ना करे, ये हो सकता है कि अगर वो जैसे भारतीय जहाजों पे अगर वो ईंधन भरने का कार्य हो या भारत और जो जिसको आप कहते हैं कि जो गैर पारंपरिक जो खतरे हैं जो अंतर्राष्ट्रीय जो समुद्रों में उन
नॉन
क्षेत्रों में
ट्रेडिशनल।
नॉन ट्रेडिशनल थ्रेट्स, उसमें
यस।
शायद वो भारत का कुछ हद तक समर्थन करें, ये तो संभव है। बट अगर ये तो कहना मुश्किल है कि अगर वो अपने जो प्रत्यक्ष रूप में अपने सेना को अपने नौसेना को वो हिंद महासागर या किसी क्षेत्र में तैनात करें जहां पे भारत और चीन की प्रतिस्पर्धा है या में युद्ध है।
या सो बेसिकली बोथ द स्पीकर्स हैव हाइलाइटेड, उन्होंने बोला है कि देखिए फिजिकली बूट्स ऑन ग्राउंड या फिजिकल intervention will not take place, but there will be support in terms of providing assistance, in providing surveillance, in providing intelligence. There would be also in support of defense equipment also may take place. So those kind of support may take place if in case of a conflict with China. We should not be actually, and India is not dependent on anyone to fight a war with China. It's not 1962, एंड हम अभी तैयार हैं चाइना के साथ अगर कुछ भी होता है। देखिए जीत हार जो भी हो, लेकिन चाइना की भी बहुत अच्छी पिटाई होगी, ये तो हम गारंटी के साथ कह सकते हैं। जीत और हार के बारे में हम नहीं बात करेंगे, लेकिन जितना नुकसान हमको होगा उतना ही नुकसान हम चाइना को पहुंचा सकते हैं, ये हमारी अब इस समय काबिलियत हो गई है। इसलिए चाइना भी फूक फूक के कदम रखता है। कमिंग ऑन टू द नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन विच इज अ स्टेटमेंट, just for information, China's treaty with Solomon Island is to ensure the logistic support for its navy in future. और दूसरा जो चीज इसमें इंपॉर्टेंट है, आई थिंक कमोडोर वासन विल एग्री विथ मी, इज दैट ये गुआम और ऑस्ट्रेलिया के बीच में उसने जा करके अपने आप को बिठा लिया, तो ये उस हिसाब से थोड़ा क्रिटिकल हो गया है यूएस के लिए। तो ऑस्ट्रेलिया यूएस का जो लिंक है उसके बीच में आके ये बैठ गया है। तो आपने शायद देखा होगा कि प्राइम मिनिस्टर मोदी भी जाके न्यू पपुआ गिनी में जाके बैठ गए। तो आई थिंक ये गेम चलेगा, ये जो पावर गेम्स चल रहे हैं, दिस गेम विल keep on going, although India has no interest whatsoever in that part of the region, but this kind of forays will take place. What do you have to say? I think, do you agree with me or you have some?
बिल्कुल सहमत हूँ, और आप जो कह रहे हैं ये सही है, क्योंकि complicated parts like games there, and this is why India is also facilitating to go into the Pacific Islands. I think the countries to oceanic countries. So this is important for us to keep the engagement going. हमने अपने separate dramas to सुने, पर we are also sweeping China from what Vietnam from support them, they have never पिछले को हमने उनके से देखी है। So this pressure on one side and counter pressure on the other side is something that is continuous. So I don't think there will be an equilibrium between the two.
So the question which I was dreading, and this I want all of you to think over it before you answer. I was dreading this question, it has come now, and I had not put it in my discussion point also. Will Maritime Theatre Command under consideration is solution to have full control all over in a maritime terrorism, piracy, climate change, illegal immigration, smuggling of arms, and I would also add HADR in this, because actually HADR would be more frequently used as far as maritime theater command in the short term. In the long term, of course, it will have other dimensions as well as our power increases. So I think Rishi, first you take on because you were quiet for a while. What do you say for this particular question? You can speak in
Well,
English, Hindi, whatever.
I'll say that as far as the integrated theater command, this comes to integrated defense.
Hmm.
And this also now has a element of civil military cooperation and cooperation. I mean, Commodore Vasan has been in the Coast Guard and the Navy. He's so seems to be a cooperation between the constabulary, the benign, the military roles of the Navy, which as provided in India's maritime doctrine. And the climate change, illegal immigration. Well, many of these really seem, this maritime theater command really seems to imply cooperation between the Navy and the Coast Guard. And truth speaking, that's what it seems to be. And I think I won't say anything more except that to say that Commodore Vasan he's one of those old time Coast Guard officers who's been both in the Navy and Coast Guard. Now, of course, whether he's in a better position to comment on this, that's all. I'll say that
Okay,
really seems.
okay. I think I understand, Rishi. We'll ask Commodore Vasan only what his views are. First of all,
Right.
its need. Is it required? Second of all, the time frame, and third of all, what all it should carry out.
So
Three
this is
points.
something we must definitely engage ourselves in the discussion. What is clear is from the time the first serious took over, the idea of having theater commanders is something that has been accepted. The new CDS system now, and they're looking at it, there were differences mainly to the and that's apparently being resolved. The only question of the morality, the natural goals of who you talk. The easiest implement is the American theater. Because of all, you have the entire sea on both sides, but you already have these commands which are looking at this. You have the assets which are there. The only difference that the Indian Navy has been providing the intelligence even to the Army and the Air Force along the NSC using the CIDIH. The maritime strike aircraft which are Yamaha from the Air Force, they are those who operate. They operate the jet plots, they are the mix. They were opening out during the change, they are providing that kind of. So this is a question of working out the asset distribution depending on the threat estimate, and thereafter saying that security. All the things that were pointed out in that question were already being done by the Navy industry. And after the Mumbai terror attack, the Coast Guard operation is already under the command of the Navy. Up to that time, they were working independently, they were not Navy. But after Mumbai terror attack, the operation control of the Coast Guard asset is with the Navy. So, Coast Guard on its own is carrying out various work for SADS, it's got its PCB, the pollution control system. So, obviously, they are looking at the low-hanging fruits of the maritime theater command, which is easier to implement because of the restrictions which are there. And Andaman Nicobar already has a maritime command. It had the first maritime integrated command in 2001 when it went down to the point of that is the best example of the theater command.
So,
It is
so my
already
question, my trailing question to you is that what will happen to the Andaman Nicobar command? Will it get subsumed, or will it remain as a
So I'm sure they
outward?
are looking at these issues. It might get assumed or they may still keep it separately for multiple reasons of its specific task related to the Indo-Pacific. Closer to Indonesia, it's got its assets. There was Coast Guard, Navy, Army, Air Force. Assets are all together and it's working well. So then perhaps no need to disturb it for another 3, 4, 5 years. Only the maritime theater command comes in. Thereafter, see how things progress. And then subsequently, if you take it from there.
So,
As an independent officer.
right. So basically, in nutshell, quick response is the lowest hanging fruit as far as the theater commands are concerned. Maybe it may get implemented the first. Second of all, Andaman Nicobar command, as per Commodore Vasan, may be allowed to remain independent and looking more towards Indonesia and Malacca Strait, and basically uh, projecting itself towards the outer periphery of the Indian Ocean
To be
region
more specific, against China.
against China. So it should block the Malacca Strait is what we are saying. But in all this, the biggest problem which is which one of few of our Air Force experts have been saying, are the assets of the air. And that, unfortunately, has been a big stumbling block. To that, my answer is that, A, first of all, we are going in for a larger number of aircrafts, as you can see from the French deal, Tejas engines, etc. 250 Tejas engines are being developed. Where will they go? I mean, we will have the assets. We have to become futuristic. और आगे की देखनी है हमको, तो उसके हिसाब से जो फर्स्ट ऑफ द ब्लॉक जो होना चाहिए हमारे हिसाब से वो और स्विंगिंग ऑफ फोर्सेस तो बहुत आसान है. जरूरी नहीं है कि एक थिएटर में है तो उस फोर्स को हम स्विंग नहीं कर सकते हैं. गगन शक्ति में हमने किया था. जरूरत पड़ेगी तो सदर्न थिएटर से हमने P8s को जो नेवी के हैं उनको स्विंग किया था नॉर्थ में, जब जरूरत पड़ी हमको सर्वेलेंस की. तो ऐसा कुछ नहीं है कि हम नहीं कर सकते. इट्स नॉट सैक्रोसेंट. रिसोर्सेज शुड बी वन ऑफ द कंसिडरेशन, बट नॉट द most important consideration, is my view. We will move ahead, sir, to the next question, which I think uh, at sea India has the advantage and China at the receiving end. Can India leverage it to pressurize China to settle its issues on land? Conceptually, मेरे ख्याल से ये बहुत अच्छा पॉइंट है, बट चाइना को आप किस तरह से प्रेशराइज करेंगे, दैट इज द क्वेश्चन विच यू हैव टू आस्क. What are the modalities of pressurizing China in the sea? Are you going to pick up a confrontation by blocking the trade? Are you going to pick up a confrontation by blocking the Malacca Strait? These are big questions which we need to be careful of. Can we afford at this particular stage? What are your views, sir? Rishi?
Rishi, you want to take one first?
Yeah, Rishi.
I'd say that, you see, this question of blockade, if you go into the 71 war, some people say that if India could have blockaded Karachi, even today there's a talk that if India blockades Karachi for a week, Pakistan will have to surrender. Because they'll stop getting energy, they'll stop getting oil, lot of their trade will stop. But whether it's a practical idea and whether it could, well, at the moment, while this seems unlikely, there is nuclear saber rattling in between Russia and Ukraine. So one never knows when one is going to tilt the nuclear balance. So beyond that,
there is this nuclear factor which is there because all three neighbors are nuclear. That's one of the biggest challenge of South Asia, in fact. So you're right to the extent that before we take any precipitous action of sorting out our land borders with doing something in the IOR, I think that will be that decision will be undertaken only when a situation becomes very grave. When the situation becomes of such a nature that कि land के ऊपर हमारा जो control है थोड़ा ढीला पड़ रहा है, उस हालत में जरूर हम सी को इस्तेमाल करेंगे. क्यों नहीं इस्तेमाल करेंगे? अगर जरूरत पड़ी तो करेंगे. और लीडरशिप जो है पॉलिटिकल, जो हमें जो खबरें मिल रही हैं कि पॉलिटिकल लीडरशिप में वो विल है, यूज ऑल द इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स ऑफ नेशनल पावर. हमको इनफैक्ट हम लोग पीछे हट रहे हैं. हम लोग बोलते हैं थोड़ा तैयारी चाहिए, थोड़ा ये करना है, थोड़ा रिसोर्सेज कम है. तो इसलिए आई थिंक वी आर मूविंग टुवर्ड्स दैट डायरेक्शन एंड वी शुड कंटिन्यू विद दैट. I think we'll take the last question and we'll do, because we are already 1 hour 10 minutes. Also, China's economic relations in East African countries will also facilitate establishment of required naval bases. Sir, fully agree with you, but let me share. We are at par as far as competition of trade is concerned with Africa, with China. $75 billion, both countries. So I think we will be we are controlled, and this power is now this power game is now extending towards Iran. We are also trying to invest in Iran to beat back the Chinese. Let's see what happens, sir. Integrated theater command question we will take on later, I think. But thank you very much, Raghupati, for for asking this question. We agree to you that IOR, integrated theater command, would be a better way to manage the entire area. No doubt or no question on that. I think my guests will also agree with you. Sir, with that, sir, let me thank you for this beautiful, engaging session on maritime security. There were some issues of audio which I would request my audience to pardon. It may be a technical fault, but I did try to, uh, translate it in Hindi or and English, so that you people did not miss out what Commodore Vasan was trying to convey. The important fact remains for us is that in the IOR, India is becoming a rising power. It is increasing its hard power. It is working towards it both at the political level, at the services level. So, and also a huge civil military cooperation is going on. Its dockyards are full. I mean, its construction dockyards are full. The order books are full. We are moving towards becoming a blue water economy, a blue water navy. It will take some time, but yes, we are on that course. And the moment we achieve that kind of a strength, I think we will be a force to reckon with. India cannot be taken lightly, and the statement of Prime Minister will be a reality in times to come. Thank you very much, sir. A very good evening to you, and a very good evening to our audience. Uh, and hello, please like, subscribe to our channel, hit the press bell icon so that we can keep giving you some such discussions in time. You get the notification. Thank you very much. Jai Hind, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks to all the